Hey guys, welcome to day 3 of this week. We are going to dive into fractions again, but dividing this time. So we're going to focus on that for the next 2 days. And I'm going to go over several different pieces. Now, if we were in class, we would be talking about several different models of each of these, but I'm going to focus in on just one. So on page 87, you're going to title this, the top of this page, Dividing Fractions Part 1. And then I'm going to show you how to do whole number divided by unit fraction. On page 88, you're going to be doing Dividing Fractions Part 2. And when we get there, I will have you head that one also. Okay. So a couple things before we start. I'm going to just break down a fraction, a problem using fractions here. So we're talking about a whole number. So this is my whole number right here. And I'm going to divide it by a unit fraction. So I'm going to do 2/3. Okay. So I'm going to just put some questions here to help you kind of make sense of this. So this is this number right here is representing how many I have. And this could be cookies, it could be pencils, it could be cars, whatever you have. And the fraction part is going to be how many are in each group, okay? So it might be, you know, that each person is getting 2/3 of something, or each cookie needs to be broken into 2/3 pieces, however you want to phrase it, depending on the problem, okay? Okay, so with that, I'm going to be talking about a method that we use, 1 out of 3, that we're going to show you, and it's called the Brownie method. And we're going to use it for this one and also dividing fractions by whole numbers. So this is called the Brownie method. So when we think of a Brownie method, we imagine a tray of brownies. Now, if you're like, oh, I don't like brownies, you could do lasagna, you could do a sheet cake, you could do whatever comes in a rectangle that makes sense for you, okay? So I'm going to take my whole number here, and I'm going to have 3 trays of brownies, because that's how many I have, 3 trays of this, okay? And I'm going to be splitting it into thirds. So I'm just going to make this, each of my trays of brownies, kind of easily split into thirds here. However you want to do that, okay? So I'm just doing a 3x3 just to make it easy. It doesn't always have to be a 3x3. You're going to kind of have to look at the denominators there. So we have 3 trays of brownies. So I'm just going to write that over here. Okay, so that would be this part, 1, 2, and 3, just so you can see that color coding. Okay, now I'm going to split each of my tray into thirds. So I need to split it up by the denominator. Okay, so I'm going to split that up, split each tray up by denominator. Oops. So in this case, it would be 3. Or sorry, I should say thirds, not 3. Same thing. Okay, so I'm going to split these into thirds. So each of my pans now has been split into thirds. Okay, and now I'm going to loop into numerator groups. Okay, so in this case, that's 2. Sorry, that's really hard to read. So you're going to loop into numerator groups. So now I'm going to loop the thirds into groups of 2 because that's my numerator that I had up here. So I'm going to do 2 here. I'm going to skip over to my next tray, 2 there, 2 there, 2 there, and then I'm missing 1. So I'm just going to kind of do a like, oh, if I had 1 more right here, that would be my 2, even though it's not there. So this doesn't really count, but it shows me part of a fraction, okay? So once you're done with that, you're going to, and I should have scooted this over, oh well. When you're done with that, you're going to count full groups or loops, okay? So in this case, we have 1 full group, 2 full groups, 3 full groups, 4 full groups. Count fraction of remaining pieces. Okay, so in here I have 1 out of 2 pieces. So that fraction is going to be 1/2 because I only have 1 out of the 2 pieces I would have normally had. Okay, and that is going to be your total. So if I write out my new problem here, let's see if I can color code this real neat. 3 divided by, we had thirds and we had 2/3 we were splitting it into, and I ended up with 4 whole sets of 2/3, and then I ended up with 1/2 of a set. Okay, so that's how you would divide using a whole number for a unit fraction. Sometimes it'll be easier, sometimes it'll be this complicated. I wanted to show you one that was that complicated. Okay, so I'm going to give you an easy one to practice with. So practice. You're going to do 6 divided by, let's do 1/2. Okay. All right, so that's going to be your practice problem for that. Okay, I'm going to pause here and I'm going to get set up for part 2, and we will finish up our dividing by fractions with the Brownie method. Okay, welcome back to part 2. So now we're going to dive into unit fraction divided by a whole number. Remember, pause if you need to, but I'm going to dive straight into this. Okay, so we're now doing the swap of this. We're starting with our fraction, and on this side, this tells me how much I have, and the other side, which is that whole number, is going to tell me how many groups I need. Okay, so using the Brownie method here, again, we're going to use that Brownie tray. And I'm going to see if I can set up this page just a little bit easier. So the first thing you want to know is you're going to create an array using denominator by whole number. Okay, so my denominator by my whole number in this model is going to be an 8/4. So I'm going to just set that up right here. I'm going to do 4 going down this way, and I'm going to do 8 across. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, just double checking. Okay. So My first step is I'm going to shade in 7/8 of my brownie tray. Okay, so I'm going to, step one is going to be to split tray into denominator. Okay, so I'm going to be splitting it into 8 right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, my next step is I'm going to just shade in numerator. So I'm going to color in 7 of those pieces. Okay, so I have now colored in, I have 8 total pieces here, and 7 is going to be on the top part there. Okay, 7/8. All right, now I am going to split each of my sections. So I'm going to split each 1/8 into the whole number. So in this case, it's going to be 4. Okay, so I'm going to split each one of these, each of these 1/8 into 4. So what that would look like is I would just go straight across. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so I'm going to count now the total pieces. Count total pieces in brownie pan. Oops, you can't see what I'm writing. Sorry. So in this case, it's going to be a 4/8, which is going to give me 32 pieces, even if there's not actually pieces there. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to count how many are shaded in one circled group. Okay, so in one of these groups, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have seven pieces out of my total, which is my total right here, which is 32 total pieces. So if I write out my full algorithm, this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to have, just making sure I have the right amount here. So I'm going to do 7/8, and it's divided by 4, and that's going to give me, now I have 32 total pieces, and I have 7 in each piece. Okay. All right. So those are just a few different, that's just one way to do this. So let's give you a practice problem. And if you're like, Mrs. Grossen, this does not make any sense at all, please, please, please come to my office hours and let me help you with this, because this is a tricky thing and I want to make sure you have it. Okay, so your practice problem for today for unit fraction divided by whole number is 6 divided by 3. All right, take care, and I will see you guys tomorrow for more dividing with fractions. Bye.